Our reporters, Pule, Letshwiti-Jones, joins us to talk about the Pretoria trains, and from Cape Town, Nobesuthu, Hejana. Let's start with you, Nobesuthu. Thanks to both of you for joining us. So passenger rail agency PRASA and the Department of Transport are really hoping that they can revitalise train services in Cape Town. After all, it seems 300,000 commuters have been inconvenienced, and this is a cost-effective mode of transport. But the central line, I understand, remains closed.
Certainly, Sally. In fact, since 2019, we have seen the Central Line in Cape Town not being operational. They've cited the issue of theft, vandalism, and the now where people have been building on top of the railways in areas like Langa, Khayelitsha, and Philippi. And PRASA saying that they're still continuing those talks in court with their lawyers, but they've also said that they've identified 2 sites where the processes of relocation will take place, but they're also saying that an intergovernmental approach has been taken in ensuring that the city of Cape Town, the province, are also working with them in ensuring that when that site has been identified and those people, or the court has given a green light for the people to be relocated, they'll be able to build assisted by the Human Settlements Department. But this morning we did see the Minister of Transport as well as the PRASA board visiting 2 stations in Cape Town that we vandalized before, the Northern Line in particular, the Tygerberg station as well as the Vasco stations. We did hear from the minister that those stations were problematic, but with the refurbishment that has been done, they're hoping that it will ease the pressure on the train system in Cape Town. But they do say that the Southern Line has been consistent and there hasn't been much damage in those areas, but some of the area concerns are the Athlone and Maitland. But we did speak to the minister earlier on, and this is what he had to say about some of the challenges and the progress that they've done in Cape Town.
The rail policy will introduce radical measures to overhaul the country's rail system to make it competitive, efficient, safe, and reliable. This includes the introduction of private sector participation and concessions in both passenger and freight rail. I am satisfied that infrastructure upgrades are on track to salvage a dilapidated network that has been brought to its knees by criminal conduct. These upgrades will be reinforced by a security model that relies on tight collaboration with law enforcement authorities and intelligence services to ensure effective protection of these public assets. I have no doubt that we will meet the deadline to return the Central Line to full service by the end of July 2022.
Right, so there's great hopes that security can be sorted out. We have seen shocking scenes in Cape Town of trains being burnt, petrol bombed while they're actually on the tracks, and the vandalism that you've already explained. I want to speak a little bit about those security plans, how they're going to work, but also whether you had a look at the new trains and whether you perhaps got a ride in one.
Certainly, Sally. In fact, when we moved from Cape Town Station to Claremont, we were on the blue train, and it does look very nice, and there was security on board. But the chairperson of PRASA, Mr. Leonard Ramatlakane, did say that last year they did launch the Peoples to Protect program, where they hired community members to safeguard the PRASA's infrastructure. So he was saying that they'll be working with police in ensuring that they assist those people, because some of the concerns that were raised by those people were that they're unarmed. So when the thieves or the criminals rather, they go to the stations to vandalize or to steal, they too feel unsafe, and in some cases they have to run. So Mr. Ramatlakan is saying that they'll be boosting the security plans with the new plans that they have. So they are quite hopeful that this will also work in ensuring that the refurbished stations will be kept safe, and that we also did speak to him a bit earlier.
So we have the security plan as PRASA, which include all the other forces, the police, in the form of the railway police, they are part of it, the security, the 3,100 is security that was employed by PRASA earlier. So all of that on one component is communities participation. We know that we launched the PR2P in the Western Cape, which is a community-driven program. And that program, I think earlier on we talked about being audited, to audit to see that everything has gone well with that kind of program, so that the Auditor General does not find fault with it. So that is the integrated plan.
And Pule, you were looking at trains around Pretoria. So there were new trains on the tracks in Pretoria as well. Talk to me about how that is going to help ease the problems in Pretoria.
You know, Sally, while a lot of commuters were happy with trains having to arrive today and actually transport them to their various destinations, there was still a bit of frustrations and concern around the inconsistent time schedule. A lot of them were saying that they had been at some of the train stations from around 6 a.m. and only managed to get to work around 9 a.m. So there was still a bit of concern around the time schedules. But also we do understand that only 5 stations were operational today, which includes the Pretoria Station, Hercules, Mountain View Station, Pretoria North, and of course Maopane Station, which is the last one. And while that's the case, we also saw some bit of concerns as to while there was security officials and police present at the station, as you go further into some of the tracks, you could see some of the community members crossing through the railway lines, and that begs to actually ask the question of the consistency of police officials on the tracks as well, which has been one of the issues that has led to some of the delays and of course operations being halted due to the facilities being vandalized and badly destroyed, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, commuters are saying that this of course is the only source of public transport which is quite affordable, and while that's the case, they're hoping that this year can start on a good note and that the public transport services can be consistent in terms of transporting them and taking them to their various routes and destinations.
All right, let's just take a listen to what some of those commuters had to say to you this morning.
About the train now moving?
Yeah, I feel good because now we can commute to town simply with the cheapest amount of money. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that.
Were you badly impacted when the trains were moving, especially during COVID?
Yeah, I was badly impacted because I couldn't go to town. And it cost a lot, 60 rand, return. So I had to.
I'm at work right now, and bro, it's tough, man. It's tough, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously commuters are hoping that they're going to be able to rely on these new train services. Pule, I know that the new trains in Pretoria and also in Cape Town that Nobesuthu was telling us about are part of a revival plan. Can you sketch for us what the next steps are and how soon we might see certainly our commuter train service getting back to some of its former services?
Well, it seems as though the Minister of Transport has given a deadline, or rather a timeline of about 5 months before everything can go back into full operations. And while this is the case, we do know that that program details how much has been spent in terms of revitalizing some of the services that would allow for the progression of these trains to keep going. Millions, Sally, I can tell you, have been spent, particularly the key focus being on the issue of security to try and see how they can guard and protect some of these trains, and that when things such as protests and angry residents try and push them, that the trains are protected and that they are not compromised to a point whereby it will impact the daily transportation progress of having to have commuters go to some of their destinations. But while this is the case, while it has started in the Western Cape, we do understand that the Minister of Transport will be in Pretoria on Wednesday, and will be moving across inland to try and see how this issue can be addressed, of having trains move and, of course, having the facilities protected and for them not to be damaged. We do know that the Transport Ministry has received a lot of backlash and criticism, not only from the public, but from various political parties and organizations, telling them that they should try and speed up the progress of having some of these trains moving and ensuring that commuters are not badly impacted. Just like that young gentleman who we spoke to, saying that he spends around 60 rand, he used to spend around 60 rand per day, which is something that is quite costly to his livelihood. So the Transport Ministry is really under pressure to address some of these issues, and that program details how much they have to start fast-tracking the whole process of having these trains operate once again.
Thank you so much. That's Pule, Letshwiti-Jones and Nobesuthu, Hejana, telling us about new trains on the track for commuters in Pretoria and Cape Town.